Okay, so actually during this trip from here I actually leave to go to Malta where I'm teaching a razor instructor program, and then on to Gozo. And from Gozo I actually go to Poland, and then from Poland back to Hamburg, and I'm actually giving a presentation in Hamburg at a dive shop there, and also doing some tri-dives with the razor system. After this trip, the next time we're going to be back in Germany is for the boat show in January. And the goal of the trip that we're doing now and also in the future is actually to create some more instructors in key areas, key people in key areas, so that there is instruction available on the razor system from people who have in-depth knowledge about it, rather than people have to fly all the way to Mexico to take instruction from myself or one of the other razor instructors there. So obviously there's a number of different side mount systems on the market. Many of them actually well designed, well thought out, work pretty well. Some of them unfortunately not so much. They've perhaps been put together by people who don't have that much experience in side mount diving. Obviously I designed the razor myself. I designed it for the type of diving that I do personally, but it was designed to be modular and scalable. So you can go all the way from single tank recreational diving all the way up to very extreme extended range dives. For example, long, deep mixed gas dives in a cave using multiple cylinders and scooters and everything else. And the razor system basically works across all those different types of dives and all those different types of environment without having to change anything. So the core equipment remains the same, and that's important because that means that all of your skill sets, all of your procedures and everything else remain the same. So you don't have to have a new piece of equipment and new skill set and new procedures every time you want to move to the next level of diving, or every time you're diving in a different environment. So yes, you can use the razor for a shallow dive in sort of like 10 meters in a nice tropical location in a 3mm shorty, or you could come to Germany and use it for ice diving in a dry suit with steel cylinders, or you could take it cave diving anywhere in the world and use it for multiple stage, multiple scooter long penetration dives, or you could do deep mixed gas dives with it. So the idea is that it's one system that will fit everybody, that will work for every environment, that will work for every type of dive or every situation that people are going to be diving. Hopefully you won't have to recover an unconscious diver from underwater, but if you had to, then it's still a relatively simple thing to do in side mount configuration. And the best way to do this is actually to put yourself on top of the diver below you. And then you can actually use the short hose regulator. If the regulators come out of the mouth, you can put that in and pull the bungee over their head to actually hold that in place. And then control the buoyancy for both of you with the unconscious diver's BCD. So you'd reach around to the front to take hold of their inflator mechanism, which means that you're actually controlling their body as well. And with the other arm, you can actually hold the regulator in and tilt the chin up, making sure that you keep the airway clear. And then as you inflate the BCD to get yourself neutrally buoyant or even slightly positive to come up, you're going to start coming up. Okay, so now you can dump gas using the unconscious diver's BCD. The idea being that if you do get separated, the unconscious diver is going to go to the surface, okay, which is better than if they sink, and you're going to go down. But it's actually very unlikely you're going to get separated because you're actually sandwiched one on top of the other. So if you're just making a direct descent to the surface, that's quite easy to do in that configuration. But it also means in that configuration, it's easy to swim horizontally. So if you're inside an overhead environment, for example, a mine or a cave, you can actually swim out in that configuration, being able to control an unconscious diver, controlling the buoyancy for both of you with the unconscious diver's BCD.
And what's about the idea about deflating in a situation when there's too much air inside?
Well, the dump valve would be right here.
Yeah.
between you and the unconscious diver, so it's very easy just to momentarily let go with the right hand and then just use the dump valve. Or if it's the configuration where you're using dry suit, it would be the other hand.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's a question of supply and demand. And if there is enough demand, then sooner or later some of the dive centers and dive shops are going to actually start supplying that demand for side mount diving. It was the same thing in the past with rebreathers. You know, rebreathers started out, they weren't that popular to begin with. It was difficult to travel to various locations and actually have support for rebreather diving. But now pretty much everywhere you go in the world, there would be some dive centers providing support for rebreather diving. Particularly the dive centers who are evolving and changing with the times. They tend to be the better dive centers, they tend to be the better businesses. It's the same with side mount diving. Side mount diving is here to stay. It's definitely going to become more popular in the future. More people are going to be doing it. The dive centers that are really looking to evolve their business and actually be seen as cutting edge and keeping up with modern developments are going to start offering facilities for side mount divers. They're going to have tanks prepared for side mount diving. For sure, from our point of view, you know, anytime we go to a new market, if we were to go to the Red Sea and do some promotion and do some education for the local dive centers, the local instructors, that helps a lot as well. And obviously creating instructors actually in the area, in the geographical area. Now I know there were at least some shops in the Red Sea that did have side mount instructors on staff. I don't know what the political situation is there now in Egypt and whether those people are still there. I think the market in Egypt is more affected by the ongoing political situation rather than diving configuration.